I'd like to say good evening to everyone. Everyone that is here, upon leaving the room, you will receive a check for $200. So I know that you all are glad that you're here, but you have to come back Wednesday for that. We're not doing that tonight. But I would like to say that I am happy to have this opportunity to be able to share with you the upcoming or the recommendations that I have for a spending plan for FY 2022. It's a very exciting time in the city of Irondale. Things are going extremely well. The finances are fantastic. I don't think I could have written a better script myself. So I am elated to have this time with you tonight to be able to just share with you. You get it hot off the press. Lou and myself still not have compiled all the data, but the goal is to have a spending plan adopted for every fund that we have here at the city and the capital budget as well by September the 15th. So the way that we hope that this plays out for this fiscal year, we will take your comments and information through August the 30th. However, at that time, I would like to turn those documents over to the council and to give them until September the 9th to respond or to send requests or to schedule a work session or a meeting to be able to discuss everything in more detail. Once they had an opportunity to be able to go through it and to be able to dissect it and to be able to give their input about how they want to see the resources spent here at the city of Irondale, my desire that on September the 15th that there will be a resolution that will go forth that will adopt the spending plan for FY 2022. So tonight I'm just going to cover some of the things that I'm recommending, some of the things that I hope will take place in this year's spending plan. I feel very confident that we have the resources to be able to use them in a way to make sure that you continue to receive the services that you have been accustomed to. There are about several different things that I want to talk about. I know some of them will be exciting, some of them won't be exciting. But there are some things that will affect you directly, and I would love to be able to get your input so as we finalize this spending plan, we can make sure that we have your comments to be a part of what you would like to see in the city of Irondale also in FY 2022. So the way that we're going to proceed with this, eventually, or initially I thought that I had left my draft at home and I was going to have to go off the top of my head. However, it was in the truck up under the computer bag, so I was able to retrieve it. So I know that I will be able to cover the things that I've been working on for the last few days, and I want to be able to share those with you. But this is the way that we're going to do it tonight. I'm going to do an introduction, basically talking about how we're going to proceed for the upcoming fiscal year, which I have already performed that task. The second thing we're going to talk about is the spending for calendar for FY 2022. Then we're going to look at the revenue, or we're going to have some discussions about some of the revenue that is coming into the city. Then we will deal with the expenses that are going out of the city. I will give you exactly what is the amount of our bond payments for the upcoming year. I will give you an approximation because I don't have anything written down that is in stone or concrete. So tonight, most of the numbers that I give you, they are going to be approximations, but they're going to be pretty close to the numbers that we're going to use for FY 2022. So you can write them down, and then when the actual budget comes out, you can compare the approximations to the actual numbers to see how close I was in providing you that information. After I've gone through this particular process, then I'm going to open the floor up and allow you to be able to ask me questions. You can ask me questions as I'm going through the information. It does not distract me if you ask me questions while I am actually going through the presentation. The presentation is actually for you, it's not for me. So I want you to be involved. I want you to be able to ask questions. And I do want you at the end of the day when you walk out the door to feel that you are a part of the process. So that's what we're going to do tonight. Are there any questions? And hopefully we will only be here an hour and 15 minutes. So those are the ground rules for tonight. It's not to debate, but it is for you to share your opinion. If you feel strongly about something, that's fine. I'm here to be able to gather your information to make sure that we will have the best spending plan that the city has ever had. So I need your input to be able to do that. It may shock you, but I don't know everything. So I need you to be able to help me to make this spending plan one of the best that we've ever had. So the first thing that I want to talk to you about is things that people usually don't like to talk about. What do you think is the number one thing that people hate to have a discussion about? Taxes. Nobody likes to discuss taxes. However, a municipality is financed through taxes. And if you do not keep your taxes current with what's going on in the economic environment, there's the possibility that your revenue can fall behind what you should be collecting for that particular fiscal year. And that's one of the things that we do not want to happen here at the City of Irondale. I know that whenever you have to make up taxes when you haven't had an increase in a long time, it's usually something that is unacceptable to the people. So I want to be able to make sure that our taxes are sufficient enough to be able to provide the revenue that we need to be able to provide you with the services that you are accustomed to. So the first recommendation that I'm going to make to our city council is that we consider changing our tax rates for our consumer use taxes, our sales tax on automobiles, our rental taxes, which they have not been changed since 1993. And I'm also recommending that we change the automotive tax here as well. What I am sharing with you tonight, or how I would like to see the changes in our tax base, is that the city mirrors the same tax rates that they use at the state of Alabama. Because these businesses are already paying these taxes, or you're already paying these taxes when you purchase something, when you rent something, when you use something as a consumer, or when you use it as a seller. Therefore, my recommendation is to be able to move our tax structure where they are in line with the same rates that are charged at the state of Alabama. Now, the only thing that I'm not recommending for us to change is sales tax. Sales tax in the city of Irondale is 4 cents. And I would love for it to continue to be at 4 cents, because one of the things that we're not trying to do is to make the newspaper to have the highest sales tax in the state of Alabama. But we do want to make sure that our other taxes are in line with, or should be consistent with, increases that should have taken place before we get to FY 2022. I mean, you think about it on your job. If you worked on your job for 12 years and you never got an increase, then how would you feel about working with wages that you received in 2010, however you are in FY 2022? Well, I'm just going to share some brief information with you about that. There are 5 different types of taxes that I'm talking about. I am not talking about increasing the sales tax. So when you leave tonight, make sure that you state properly that Mayor Stewart said that he is not changing the sales tax on general items in the city of Irondale, but I would like to change the taxes that individuals pay on automobiles that are purchased in the city of Irondale. Our current rate is 1.5%, and I would like to see that rate go to 2%. That rate again is in line what an individual will pay for their taxes when they purchase a car that goes to the state of Alabama. So it is it's nothing that is in the city of Birmingham. It's 2%. If you want to know how much it is in the city of Hoover, is actually 1%. But the state of Alabama is in 2%. I think we have a niche because there are very few municipalities that have the luxury automobiles that we have off of 459. So I don't think that is going to hinder people from driving down to Tuscaloosa or driving over to Atlanta just to be able to save 0.5%. I mean, they'll waste more of their time and money trying to do that. And I think if you're buying a car for $100,000, I don't really think you're concerned about your taxes being $500 higher than it would have been without having that particular tax. I did have an opportunity to run some projections on one of the dealerships, which will remain anonymous. But if we use the amount of taxes that they paid this year, or the gross receipts that they paid this year, it would provide an additional $300,000 to the city just from that one dealership. So it is, the dealerships have been very, I would say, supportive to the city of Iredell. Also, I plan on meeting with all of the GMs for each dealership to share with them what I am proposing to the city council. So they will be well aware what we are doing here before I bring any increase to the council to be able to vote on it. I just believe that is fair. Before we would embark on something like that, we would have a conversation to inform them and to let them know what we are proposing to do. So that's the first area that I would love to look in, or some recommendations that I would love to make to the council on the revenue side to be able to bring more revenue into the city. Also, we want to be able to grow and to be able to have more businesses to come into the city to be able to do that as well. But as I stated earlier, I want to say that June of 2010 was the last time that anyone proposed to look at the tax structure to determine if we needed to change anything. So that is that's item number one. Okay. Item number two is I'm proposing that the city increase the water rates, because we had a study done about 6 or 7 years ago that outlined how we were supposed to have small incremental increases with our water department. However, the last ordinance that I read stated that it was done in 2016. So we're now again in 2022, and we haven't continued to be able to make those small increases so that we can continue to maintain the system. We also need to increase our reserve, but we also need additional money to be able to do capital improvements. And that's one of the things that we talked about at one of the council meetings. We actually passed a resolution to do some capital improvements in the amount of $6.2 million. I am going to recommend at the present time that we hold off on doing those improvements, because I've been talking to individuals that are working pretty close with the infrastructure bill, and they feel pretty confident that there's going to be some additional money that comes out of that bill that will eventually get to the municipality level, that we will be able to do some of these things and we will not have to go in debt to be able to do it. So I think that we can wait a couple of months, 2 to 3 months, see how things are going to turn out before we try to borrow money to be able to do those things. So I'm quite sure The council is smiling behind me uh, to realize that we're not getting ready to take on any new debt at the present time. So that's one of the things as well. I want us to be able to change our tax structure. I want us to be able to do the incremental increases on our water system. I'm also proposing that we change our rates on garbage and trash pickup. One of the biggest complaints that I've heard is with the last time the ordinance was revised in 2017, you all won't pick up my stuff. You won't pick up my construction materials. I mean, we've even had Amnesty Day at the beginning of this year so that we can pick up stuff that we normally don't want to pick up. And I've been listening to the voices that are in the community, and I've heard people share with me that if you increase my bill by $5, but you picked up everything that I put out there, I would be okay with that. Therefore, I have a few that are sitting out here in the audience. Can you all give me some feedback on that particular deal there? Because I think everybody, it's either you either do garbage or water. You're doing one or the other. So instead of me waiting to the end, would anybody like to give some feedback on if we increase the garbage rates by $5 so that we could pick up whatever you put out there?
So will it happen if you increase it? So you say you're going to increase garbage from 20 to 25
Yes. Or propose.
monthly? With that 1 point, how much the late fee charge it is if you miss the January?
$7.50 if you're late.
And the water bill will increase too, because it's all inclusive.
Well, the water bill is separate. That is a separate entity.
It's a separate entity, but it comes on the same bill.
It comes on the same bill. So you would see everything on the same bill.
My question is there some type of set schedule for this pickup? I mean, is the city divided into certain sections and on Monday they pick up on this side, on Tuesday they pick up, it seems to be just haphazard.
Yes. Well, one of the things that we haven't had here at the city is a schedule for trash. You can put it out. It may be out there for a couple of weeks. One of the things that I've always done in the past, if I was out there working in the yard, cut up some stuff, I would call down here to Tracy and at least try to find out, can you give me a date that the truck may be in the neighborhood, so I won't put stuff out there and have it sitting for a couple of weeks. But I believe that that's something that we can do and that we need to create a schedule, and we will post it on the website to be able to let all the citizens know when the truck is coming through the neighborhood. Now, it doesn't mean that it's going to happen on that actual day, but at least you will have something as a guideline to help you to be able to determine before you go out in the yard and to be able to do some work how long it's going to take before somebody pick it up, because you really don't want stuff out and you're sitting in front of your house for no 3 weeks. I mean, nobody wants that to take place. And also, I think that it's a good time for us to be able to see the importance of having our own garbage pickup, because if you've been keeping up with other municipalities around us who are contracting with other entities to be able to pick up their trash, they've been having some issues with that. I mean, I saw where Mountain Brook fined Waste Management $25,000 for the lack of picking up their trash in a timely manner. So we have a jewel here, having our own garbage department, being able to keep the guys that are here in the department, but also to be able to know when you put something out on a Tuesday, 95% of the time it's going to be picked up on a Tuesday. If your route is on Wednesday, 95% of the time somebody's going to pick it up on that Wednesday. But one of the things that you can get from Irondale that you can't get from the private haulers, if they miss your house, you can pick up the phone, call, and they will send a pickup truck out there to be able to retrieve your trash. That's just one of the services that you can't get from a private hauler. So we want to be able to be independent and keep our garbage collection in-house And to be able to do that, we need to make sure that our equipment is up to date. We want to make sure that we provide our guys that work on the back with the resources that they need to be able to do it. I mean, I volunteered to one day to get back there on the back of the truck because I just wanted to see exactly what they go through on a daily basis. However, Frank told me, he said, Mayor, you like 57 years old? And I don't think you need to get back there on the back of the truck. He said, now, if you want to get back there when they do recycling, you can get back there and handle recycling. He said, but I don't think you want to get back there to be able to do it when they're picking up garbage. And I said, well, can I get back there for an hour? He said, no, I'm not going to let you even get back there, for an hour. So I said, that's one of the things that we have as a jewel here, that we are independent from the private haulers. We have the ability to be able to pick up our trash. I know that we need 2 new garbage trucks, and those trucks usually cost $150,000 to $160,000 a piece, so they're not cheap. So if the increase is improved, it will go towards purchasing some capital items for the garbage department or sanitations department, and also it would allow us to be able to do one of the things that everybody's complained about: pick up all my stuff. I think we even have a campaign called Pick Up All My Stuff, because that's one of the complaints I get all the time when people do many construction projects and they don't want to have to drive to the dump. I think it's more expensive to go to the dump and to be able to do it than it is if you went along with the increase that is being proposed for the upcoming fiscal year. So those are just a couple of things there. Like I said, I was thinking about it when I was putting this all together. I said, well, I need to put the increases at the back because I need to make sure everybody's in one accord before we get to talking about that. But it's something that is needed for the city. And I feel like my job is to provide the council with the proper information for them to be able to make an intelligent decision. It's not that I am just all about increasing everything. But I do understand that if we're going to keep this city where we need to keep it, then we are going to have to be able to increase some of the things, because that's a service, that we provide to the citizens. And if the citizens appreciate that service, they should be okay paying a little extra to be able to take care of it.
What about leaves in the autumn? Is that ever going to be adjusted, or we're still going to be continuing to bag the leaves?
You still will have to bag the leaves.
You will. So there is going to be no leaf like.
No, it causes the issue.
They talked about the last group, but it never got there.
Yes, it causes the issue when you leave the leaves unbagged, because what they do, they don't have a mind of their own, so they end up going down into the storm drain. And when they go down to the storm drain, we got another issue. We will always bag leaves, but they do use the leaf truck to be able to go through certain neighborhoods and to be able to retrieve leaves to make sure that they don't go in the storm drains. But we don't encourage people to put them out there for them to come by and to be able to do that. One of the other sore spots, and I heard people, well, I didn't hear it because I don't really keep up with it, but my kids keep me informed about, everybody was complaining about the occupational license fee. When you leave tonight, I want you to give it the proper name. It's not a tax. It's a fee. It's called the occupational license fee. Everybody likes to call it a tax, but it is not a tax. It is a fee to work in the city of Irondale. And that fee is 1%. When I ran for office, I said that I would reduce the occupational license fee by 0.5%. And I am going to stick by that campaign promise. Well, I'm going to put it out there in the atmosphere, because it's not that I can vote on it to reduce it. However, I have 5 wonderful people that are behind me that has the ability to be able to do that. So I'm proposing this year that we reduce the occupational license fee by 0.25%. And in FY23, we reduce it by another 0.25%, which means that we will only charge 0.5% on individuals that work in the city of Irondale in FY23 if both of those resolutions are adopted in 22 and 23. Once we get our arms wrapped around some of the other economic development opportunities and projects that are going on in the city of Irondale, then we will revisit to see if we could reduce it by another 0.25%. And eventually, we may get rid of it. Now, one of the drawbacks of that whole thing is that the Alabama legislatures passed a bill that blocks cities from implementing an occupational license fee now. Therefore, once it's reduced, you can't go back. So if we reduce it, then we will never be able to increase it again. So that's one of the things that you do have to think about that. But I feel very confident with the things that are going on in the city that we would be able to replace that fee. Based on my calculations, if we reduce it by 0.25% this year, we will reduce an additional $700,000 to be able to come out of the spending plan to be able to deal with that reduction. However, I believe that our financial situation, or based on where we are right now, that we should be able to handle that and it won't be a problem. So for everybody out there, this weekend was all up in arms about the occupational license fee. And I mean, I received an email from a very irate individual that worked in the city of Irondale about it as well. But I think what people forget, the employees that work here at the city pay the same thing. So it's not like we are exempt from paying that fee. So I pay that fee. Josh pays that fee. Lou pays it. The council pays it. Everybody pays it, even though we live here in the city of Irondale. So I did want to make that crystal clear and to put that disclaimer out there. It's not like we get a free ride, but we work in the city, and we also have to pay the fee to be able to continue to work in the city. Are there any questions about the, what is it called? Okay, so now I got some individuals that are pretty astute when it comes to the city taxes. So the next time you hear somebody say occupational tax, make sure you correct them and say, no, it's not a tax. It's a fee to be employed in the city of Irondale. In 2018, the city tried to pass I got occupational license fee on the brain. But the city tried to pass or adopt a resolution or ordinance to be able to increase property tax by 6 mills. I want to say when we did those calculations, it was less than $125,000. I mean, $120 a month on a $125,000 home. Don't anybody quote me because I'm speaking for 2 to 3 years ago. But we won't be able to do it this year, but I have heard a lot of individuals say that if we increase the property tax by 6 mills, because that's the only thing that we can do without having to go to the state to get them to allow us to be able to charge a higher amount. But if we use those funds and they can see how those funds are being used, that they would be okay with that increase. If the city ever decided to go down that road, that would be my recommendation to them, because there are capital items that we have to buy every year. There are things that you like to see, certain amenities and things that you like to see in the city as well. And if we use that money for that purpose, then you would see exactly where your money is going. Also, I was going to pull on Marvin expertise. It may be deductible on your on your taxes, but however, we know that the way that the new tax system is set up, it's very, very few deductions that you can take. So I'm not going to even sit up here and sell you that lie that you can deduct it off your income tax, because more than likely you wouldn't be able to deduct it off your income tax. But that will be a stream of income that will come into the city that you will see exactly where those funds are going. I hate the word earmark, but I would be willing to accept that principle to be able to earmark it and to tell you exactly how those funds are going to be used. And also, I don't have a problem with putting a sunset provision in there to say that if the citizens were to agree to be able to do it, within 5 years, we come back and determine if you want to do it again. Because if you didn't see any fruit from that, now you have the opportunity to be able to vote it down, and we can move on to something else. You know, people have this whole deal is that people always increase taxes, but they never reduce them. But I can say that, you know, here in the city of Irondale, we're trying to do things a little bit different. So if the tax is not working, if we're not using it the way that we said that we were going to use it, then we don't deserve to receive it. And at that point, the citizens need to vote to be able to reduce it and put it back to its present state. So that's one of the other things that I would love to recommend to the council.
Well, what year did you say that made you, is that 2023?
The way that it's set up, if we did it this year, and it would have to be enacted before May, then you wouldn't collect it until FY 2023. Yes, it's a vote of the people. Yeah, it would be an election that take place.
Someone behind you,
Huh?
one of your council.
The last time we did the projection, 6 mills would bring in an additional $1 million. Mm-hmm. And one of the things with property tax, people always think that it is the residents that pays the property tax when property taxes increase. However, the business community foots about 70% of the bill when you increase property taxes. So if we were to go to 6 mills, the citizens of Irondale will only pay like $300,000, but the businesses will kick in the extra $700,000 that would make that total amount $1 million. So that's just one of the fallacies about property tax. Everybody think that their taxes is the one that pays for the city to do all of the things that the city has an opportunity to do for you. But if you break those taxes down, or if you just, and the information is right there on the county's website. They have a equalization sheet that you can go and you can look at it. You can see exactly how much the city of Irondale receives in property tax. And once you see that amount, because they also charge a fee to collect it, you can multiply it by 70%, and you can see this is the amount that goes to businesses, this is the amount that is paid by residential. They actually have it broken down because there's different classes of taxes and based on how you pay property tax. So that's just one of the things that I wanted to throw out there to let you know that that's also a possibility, but it would only be used to be able to do things that you can put your hands on or things that you can see. We don't have a lot of employees here tonight. I guess we got a few, but I am recommending for this fiscal year that we increase salaries for city employees by 3%. We increased it by last year by 3%, and I'm also recommending that we do the same thing this year. When I gave a report on the financial condition of the city at the last council meeting, or when I sent out a income statement to the council for the last meeting, I want to say that we had a surplus of about $7.6 million. However, there's about $2 million of that surplus that comes from the American Rescue Plan and also the CARES Act. So you can reduce that 7.6 by $2 million, but the city still has a surplus just from its regular revenue and expenditures of about $5.6 million, even without having those funds. They work very hard, and one of the things that we're trying to do is to make sure that we keep our salaries in a position where they do not want to go to another municipality. Because there is a shortage of employees out there. I'm quite sure you all see that every day. When people are getting ready, you want to go to a restaurant and have something to eat, they tell you that they don't have any workers. So there is a shortage worker out there, so we're trying to make sure that we keep competitive salaries and wages here at the city of Irondale. I feel that 3% is a pretty good rate to increase their wages. I actually did a projection on that amount, and it would only cost the city $260,000 for the fiscal year to be able to do that. And I believe, based on some other numbers that I played around with, that this will be the largest budget that the city of Irondale has ever had. I believe that we will allocate about 26 or 27 $1 million, and that's not including the $1.5 million that's coming from the American Rescue Plan next year. We're doing well, and I think that as we keep sharing the wealth with the individuals that are part of the city, I believe that the Lord honors that. And if we continue to do right, He will do right, and we will all be blessed in the process. So I'm also recommending a 3% increase for our employees. One of the questions that I was going to ask is, how does everybody feel about recycling?
Well, you got so many, you can't do this, you can't do that, you can't do this, you can't do that. This got to be a 1 point something, and this got to be a 1, who's looking at this?
See, Ms. Velma, you just don't like to follow instructions. But that's been one of the things too. What are we going to do about our recycling plan? Are we going to continue to recycle, or are we going to eliminate it? I stand in front of you tonight to say I'm a firm believer in that we need to be able to keep the program. It's not about the money, because people always say, well, it costs money to be able to do that. Well, everything you do, it costs money. But I'm not against it because it's not a money maker, and I'm not going to sit up here and tell you that it is a money maker. And I can give you 7 different reasons why we want to keep the environment clean, but I'm not going to try to sell you on keeping the environment clean. I just want to share with you that I believe that it's an excellent program if it's done correctly. And we have not changed the way we do recycling since I was on the council in 2012. And the way we started doing counseling on the way we started doing recycling when I was on the council in 2012 was like this. They decided to have a contest. And based on the contest, they said, well, we'll pick up in that district first, and we'll see how it turns out. Well, our district currently had all of the drop-off points in the first place, so everybody was already accustomed to going to the senior center, because that's where the recycling bin was, and they would leave stuff there. District 1 ended up winning the contest. But when District 1 won the contest, then the counselors in 2 said, well, I want it in 2. And then 3 said, I want it in 3. And then 4 said, I want it in 4. And before you know it, we were going over the whole city when we were only supposed to be doing an experiment to see how we could do it in one district and then perfect the process. We never perfected the process. But I believe right now is a good time to be able to do that. Number 1, education is very important. Like you said, Ms. Velma, you don't know, number 1, number 2, what I'm supposed to do, number 3, number 4, number 5. The other big thing is people still put everything out when they know that it's going to rain. They still put the cardboard out, and then everybody complain about why we didn't pick it up. And I know that that's been drilled into a lot of people, that the contamination rate, leaving out cardboard that's wet, they don't pick it up and all that kind of stuff. Well, I had a conversation with ADEM yesterday, and they're going to be at the Whistle Stop on October the 2nd. And they're bringing all of their recycling stuff, and I talked to them about how the city of Irondale would like to improve our process. And we missed the grant cycle for 22, but they've already sent me the information for 23. One of the things that I would like to do is to be able to get a grant to be able to give you a real recycling trash can. Like I said, the bins went back to 2012, and at that time, the bins were fantastic. But I think that we need to make a change there. They shared with me that there's money out there to be able to get the vehicles to be able to do it. Because right now, I mean, I thought about it. I said, well, man, we complain about the contamination rate for recycling, but what do we pick up our recycling? I mean, what truck goes by to pick up the recycling? It's the garbage truck. So I'm like, probably the whole thing is contaminated. I mean, I don't know how they wash it out, and I guess I need to go over there one day when they're up under the shack and they're washing out everything. But common sense kind of tell me if you picking up your recycling in the garbage truck, this is a very strong possibility that it's going to be contaminated before it gets to where it needs to be. So we talked about the grants that are out there. They were very excited because they would love to get in the Birmingham area to be able to do more recycling. They talked to me about getting with surrounding municipalities, talking to them, because I mentioned to them that the city of Irondale, if it's possible, would like to become a hub. And what they like to do is to identify areas where you become the hub, or you're the main point where people drop off everything. And then once they drop it off, or you become the hub, and then everybody else becomes the spoke. So Leeds could be a spoke, Trussville, Moody, I mean, all of the cities on this side that I know that some of them have private haulers, but if we become the hub, then we can be the other municipalities can participate with us. And we're always talking about how can we work together, how can we do regional cooperation. So that'll be a perfect opportunity to be able to do that. So I did want to let you all know that I am pursuing some grants through ADEM to make sure that if we continue with recycling, that the bins that you receive will be free, the educational materials, we wouldn't have to pay for it, and hopefully we could be able to get a couple of vehicles that would be dedicated just for recycling, because in the ones that are dedicated for recycling, they actually have 3 compartments in it. So you can put the cans where the cans need to be. You can put the number 1s and 2s where they need to be. And you can also put the paper in the place where it needs to be. So when everything comes back to City Hall, it's already been sorted. And you've already gone through it to make sure that if it's uncontaminated or if it's contaminated, because you put your hands or your eyes on it, and you're now put it in these separate bins to be able to make sure that it's done properly. And also, I learned that there is a market for recycling. I know that the myth is that nobody pays anything for recycling because China doesn't accept anything anymore. That may be true to a certain extent, but I went to Florence, Alabama about 3 months ago because they actually have a recycling center there. And I spent half a day up there with them, going through their center, learning how they establish their center. And they actually take paper that has been bundled, and they have commodity brokers that sells that paper on the open market. One of the things that I learned when they took me in there to be able to see the recycling on the conveyor belt, I don't ball up paper anymore. You think that's the best thing to do, is ball the paper up. But when you ball the paper up and it's going across the conveyor belt, guess what happens? It gets stuck. So if I can give you one recycling tip tonight, when you have a sheet of paper, just put it in there the way that the sheet of paper has been designed. But don't ball it up because it causes difficulty when they are trying to bundle all that together and to be able to sell it on the open market. So I'm in favor of recycling. I support it, and I plan on doing everything that I can to make sure that we have one of the best programs around, and to be able to partner with ADEM to be able to make it happen so it doesn't cost the city a lot of money to be able to implement those things. Let's talk about the good part. Let's talk about some money coming into the city. What type of money is coming into the city for the upcoming fiscal year, or talking about certain revenues that are coming into the city of Irondale? We received $1.5 million from the First American Rescue Plan, and we received those funds in July. We have not spent a dime so far, and we probably won't spend any of that money until we all have a chance to be able to sit down and come up with some options and some ways to be able to do it. Well, I guess I just lied a few minutes ago. I am requesting that we do 200 for 200, and that would come out of that. That would come out of that money, because I'm a part of the mayor's challenge, and mayors have been challenged across the state of Alabama because we make an impact in our community to be able to get 20% increase in unvaccinated people to take the first shot by September the 6th. So make sure that we're trying to do that for Labor Day. So that's the reason that we're having the special council meeting, because if we waited to September 1st to be able to do it, we wouldn't have a lot of time to be able to work on that challenge. But that's why we have that special council meeting for tomorrow night. And it's just to be able to, for the city of Irondale, again, to be at the forefront of trying to make sure that we do our part to be able to reduce the unvaccinated rate. So my thing is, I don't care what your politics is or what your science is, but at the end of the day, people are dying. And it's very simple. I mean, we can argue what our points may be for that. We can talk about our freedoms and all that kind of stuff. But at the end of the day, when you're dead, you don't have to worry about your freedoms. You quite free when you land in that ground. So I'm not ready to be able to do that. So I wanted to be able to do my part to be able to try to be able to make a difference, and whatever difference we can make, I think that is a positive thing to be able to do. But the city received $1.5 million in July. We'll receive another $1.5 million next fiscal year. So we receive about $3 million in American Rescue funds. Those funds can be used for sewer. It could be used for broadband. It could be used for what I'm talking about, helping people to be able to get vaccinated. It could be provided to nonprofits to be able to allow them to help them as they go through the pandemic. I mean, two of the other things that we're going to talk about for the rest of the week, we are having a rental and utility assistance workshop on tomorrow at 11 o'clock. And I'm just trying to get a feel for the people that live in Irondale to see if that's something that they would like for the city to participate in. And on Thursday, we're having a COVID-19 small business grant workshop at 11 o'clock to be able to talk about the same thing, but this is to be able to help businesses that has been affected by COVID. Some people got PPE loans, some people didn't. But we want to be able to do our share, do our part here in the city of Irondale, and that's one of the things that you can do with those funds. I truly believe investing in our people, investing into the community, because if your community is strong, then your city is strong. If you don't take care of the people that you're responsible for, then I feel like as a public official, you're not doing the things that you're supposed to do. So we have that about $3 million that is coming in within the next 2 years to be able to use to be able to help citizens of Irondale. I'm also proposing that we spend another $2 million on roads for the upcoming fiscal year. That was one of the things that was stated at the last meeting that we had, that if you were not in the first phase, that you would be in the second phase. Hopefully, some of the money that is coming out of the infrastructure bill will come to the city of Irondale to be able to do even more than what we said that we were going to do. But we are going to, even if those funds do not come, we still are going to find $2 million from somewhere to be able that we complete the second phase. So that means that the city of Irondale would have done $4.4 million of roads within a couple of years. I've been around here for about 20 years. I don't remember anything like that happening. But I'm glad that we have a fantastic council that believe in taking care of the community and investing in the infrastructure of the city as well. So we're committed to making sure that we follow through and do what we said that we were going to do to everybody roads that were not a part of the first thing that we were trying to do here at the city. Also, if I can look through all my papers, I can give you the quotes for the bids that came in today. All right, for the paving, well, I'll give you the crack sealing part first. The lowest responsible bid that we received for crack sealing was $346,529. The lowest and responsible bid for the paving and the overlay was $1,816,817.55. I didn't add these two figures up, but we said that we were going to do 2.4 million, and I believe that this is less than 2.4 million. So I was very pleased with the bids that came in for the crack sealing as well as for the paving. And also I'll give you the amount that came in for paving the roads in Old Overton Trail subdivision. We're still waiting to be able to receive the specs for the bridge that was a part of this package as well. I shared with Councilman Box that I'll check with the engineers tomorrow to see exactly where we are on that. But the bid for Old Overton Trail was $428,091.40.
I'll ask you one thing, I know some of the roads which have nothing to do with the city, who do you need to talk to about getting them fixed?
Even if they're not in the city, I would say the best place to start is with Public Works.
But they're in the city, the main thing is that if you come down Grants Mill Road and you want to go across, that road is so uneven.
Yes, I'm still saying the best place, because they are county roads, a thoroughfare. Roads, it's still best to let us talk to them and have the conversation instead of you trying to call down to Jefferson County as a citizen and get them to be able to do the same thing. I believe that I have talked for over 55 minutes. Those are the things that I wanted to be able to share with you about revenue, about expenses, about some of the recommendations that I would like to make for the upcoming spending plan. We have not put numbers to any of this information yet. That's why I didn't want to pass anything out, and I wanted to be able to allow you to be able to hear it before I took the liberty to go and to be able to put these things in. So if you're out there watching on Facebook, you can send me an email to jstewart@cityofirondaleal.gov. And if you're sitting here in the room tonight, feel free to be able to do the same thing. If you want to schedule an appointment and come and talk about it in more detail, I'm open to be able to do that. You can contact Ms. Lee Allison, who sets my appointment schedule. And we can also sit down and break bread and go through it. And I do not have a problem sharing the same thing with you about that. We try to be as transparent as we can be. That's all I can say. I just try to be transparent. I don't think I can add any. I'm trying to think about adding something else to it, but the only thing I can do is put the information out there. I know some people may accept it, some people may not. But one of the things they won't be able to say that while I was in office for these first 5 years that I hid stuff and did not share information with the citizens. So I want to make sure that you are very well informed so that you can take the information, and then when you hear people giving out wrong information, you can correct them. The more people that we have that understand exactly what's going on, the better off we will be as a city. Next month, we start the Citizen Engagement Institute, where we have about 6 weeks where we're going to teach everybody about local government, what goes on in local government. We're going to have some of the department leaders that work here at the city. They're going to be able to share information with you about what's going on in their department. I want to say I have the responsibility of opening up, and again, I will probably be the speaker when it comes to dealing with the financial condition of the city. Or I may just give that to our new city clerk and let her do that. And just kind of sit back and relax while she breaks bread with everybody and keep you informed about what's going on. So at this time, the floor is open for questions. Okay, I want to take the people that's here first, and if they don't have anything, then we can take Facebook.
Yeah, one.
Mayor, just reiterate for people that may be hearing this, the bid that came in for over control, once again, that is, the city will pay, but then the citizens will be assessed the same as Mount Lake State.
Yes. Yes.
So you're gonna use some of the rescue money for your the 200?
Yes, it's about $40,000.
Okay. So how are our employees fixed for vaccinations and things?
What's that again, Ms.
What
Val?
percentage of our employees have?
I don't know, because that's not a question you can ask them, so I don't have a clue who's vaccinated and who's unvaccinated. That's why we decided to require everybody in the city buildings to wear a mask, because we don't know and we can't ask people that question. Hopefully those that are not unvaccinated will come out now, since there is a reason. I hope that if it's adopted on tomorrow night, that they will be lining up at CVS or someplace to be able to get it if it's adopted on tomorrow.
Tell them to hold on until I get my booster.
Okay. All right, Josh, everybody in here is well taken care of, so we can go to Facebook.
Chelsea McClure had 3 questions. One is, do we have a schedule for the leaf truck?
We do not.
On the sunset aspect you were talking about on the property tax, would that be by citizen vote or council vote?
The sunset will be by citizens. It will be all a part of that ordinance when created to have the election. So the citizens will actually vote for that one, to approve it or disapprove it.
And she was curious to why, if we're running the surplus that you talked, the 7 mil surplus, why suggest taxes get raised on property, which will equate to roughly 1 million?
I am very glad that she asked that question, because what we usually do, we wait until we get to the point where we need to do something. My idea, let's be proactive and do it while we don't have to do it, because then that also shows people that we are doing pretty well in managing our resources, but we do not have a dedicated source for capital items. That's why I wanted that to be set aside or earmarked for capital items. When we get ready to budget for the upcoming year, we would not have to pull so much funding from the general fund to be able to move it over to capital, to be able to do the things that we need to do, because we have a police department, we have a fire department, we have a garbage department, and all of those things is very capital intensive, including the water department as well, even though we charge rates to be able to do that. So that's my reason behind it. Let's do it because we don't have to do it right now, and to be able to build up our reserves and to be able to build up our funds. Because, at the end of the day, there's going to be some rainy days, and we want to make sure that when the rainy days come, that we have an umbrella to be able to protect us from the rain.
One more question and 2 more comments. From Peggy Sue O'Shields, is there a map for the pavement of the roads?
There's not a map, but we do have a list on the website that identify all the roads that were in phase one.
And then Carolyn Jones, assuming, talking about the trash pickup, she said I would support the increase on the $5 increase. We have a great service, from Martin Smith. And then one other comment from Kathy Sanderson. Road repair, yes, always a hot topic at election and other times. Finally, a mayor and council letter stepping in.
Council, do you all have any questions? All right, well,
Decided to get the process underway.
okay. Well, we don't have to go to 7:10. We can just cut it off right now. So I thank everybody for coming out. I hope that tonight provided you with some information and provided you with some things that you was not aware of that was going on in the city of Irondale, and that you leave out this door with some additional knowledge about what we're trying to do here at the city as we work towards putting together a plan for the upcoming fiscal year. Oh, I forgot one of the other things that I forgot to talk about too. There is an opportunity for the city to refund some bond issues and to be able to receive another approximately $1 million from refunding the bond issues. It doesn't add any additional debt, and it doesn't change the terms of the length of the debt. So we're also looking at that. There may be a resolution on the next council meeting that we come before the council to approve our finance team to go ahead and to begin the process to validate those bonds and then to move forward with the possibility of refunding them. But at the end of the day, that's my story. I'm sticking to it, and I hope you all have a wonderful ride to your destination.